Hello, my name is Frances Fox. As you know, I was in a secret government program, the type of which I do not believe would have ever started or continued if somebody like Trump had been president. There has been a misconception that in the name of war and in the name of protecting what's yours in terms of territory, that doing ugly things is okay. In the 90s, when I started to speak out, and I think I was given permission to speak out, which is kind of interesting. I did go to lawyers, several lawyers, to see about coming to some kind of a peace settlement with the government, that they would just let me be a free person. And the meetings lasted less than 5 minutes because three of them told me that I was a government asset and therefore I had no rights. Well, no, maybe that's how we got into trouble. Too many different excuses to take away people's rights, to do things that are not right. And I want to get to the issue of Jesus Christ because I know that I'm going to run into trouble as soon as the stuff that I get out there that I do is going to get out there in a bigger way because it will. That has been foretold. It will. What I do works. It's based on the reality of the fundamental structure of the universe, which is the basis for string theory, which I discovered. Didn't even bother telling the scientists at the big deal universities because that would be unacceptable. That a female that wasn't at one of those universities, I do have a university degree, would have found that. And it's too simple. It's just too simple. What I discovered, which they said was a fundamental structure of the universe, that they said the scientists will explain everything, which is true, is really very simple. It's a tree of life. It's a series of channels. But the trick here is that we are in a change of cycles on the planet, but the cycle is like a minimum of 5,000 years old. And I think it's like 21,000 years old. We're there now. We have something collapsing and something new. And we have a new president who is very definitely not allowing old shenanigans. But because we've never done this before, what are the things that we should be focusing on in terms of positive and in terms of creation, which is what the fundamental structure of the universe is about? It is the structure that creates reality. Um, what should we be focusing on? Well, I think the most important thing is that we need to understand that we are in a changing paradigm. The old one collapsed, and the new paradigm is different. Therefore, what we promote, where we put our money, our time, and what we try to teach our children, etc., is going to be different. And that's really hard for a lot of people. Really, really hard for a lot of people. A lot of people, it's going to be okay if everything collapses because they're not jiving with the existing system. And I understand that because I don't jive with the existing system. I mean, too many people thought that I was mentally ill. I'm sure some people still think that today. The only problem is when they put me through the paces what they did in the 90s, they didn't put me through. I put myself through because I would be a good girl. The conclusion is not that I'm mentally ill. It was severe trauma. And then the second part, which they didn't talk about, but which all the therapists and psychologists found very interesting, is because I know more about the mind than the people that are running mental health today. And again, we go to the fundamental structure of the universe. Okay, so here's the trick. People, we're winning. When I say we, it's because I'm on the Trump team. We are winning. If he didn't win, if he doesn't stay in control, there really isn't any place I can move where I'm going to be okay. But there's a lot of people that are losing. There's a couple of things. There's so many people getting left without their jobs, or so many people that know that they're not going to be able to keep their jobs. There's so many jobs that are no longer going to be available because Elon is going to find out that why are we still doing this? That was from the other century. Um, so we have to work on as a country, which I started working on in 1999. In 1999, I put together a program called Prosperity in the Midst of Chaos. And today was when I realized, wow, this is what the entire country needs to be made familiar with, because we're going to have chaos, because there's a collapse of a system, which has nothing to do with politics. It's planetary, it's galactic. And a lot of people are saying, can't you feel like something's coming? Can't you feel like something's coming? Something's changing, not just the Schumann resonance. So having a program in place at a national level and international level that literally deals with the changing cycle of the planet, wow, it would be ideal. We cannot expect our religions to help us in this difficult time because they were set up for a time that is now collapsed. They don't have the tools because they had the tools for a time in which we lived, in which our consciousness was limited. Da, 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 da. This is different today. It's different from here forward. And I'm going to get into the issue of Jesus Christ. I will not forget that in the 90s, I was supposed to get a radio show on a Latin American station in Miami, but it was a Latin American station. I didn't get the show because too many people were too opinionated about me not being Christian, me not being Catholic. And at that point, everybody was foggy heads, and I wasn't as sure in my as secure in my feet, as secure in my knowledge as I am today. But the truth of the matter is, I'm the one that can be challenging all of these people, all of the religions, all of you that call yourself Christian and Catholic. I can be challenging you, and I'm going to challenge um, RFK on the medical thing. Do not call yourself a Christian. If you can't deal with spirits, do not call yourself a healer, a medical doctor. If you're not and a Christian, if you are not willing to start to explore, what you should have done before, what Jesus Christ did anytime somebody was sick, the first thing he did was cast out spirits. Do not throw in my face that I am anti-Jesus, anti-Christian, anti-Catholic. No, 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 no. You guys were the ones who took Jesus Christ, used him as a marketing tool, pulled people together, probably collected some monies, and went with a religion that does not allow people to follow what Jesus Christ did. Jesus Christ was not a hypocrite. He wasn't going to do one thing and then tell you you have to do something different. No, 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 no. So this whole medical thing, oh, great. We're not going to have the poison in our foods, the poison in our vaccines. We're all going to be on the slow road to China, having to do with getting well. Today, I had a hint of somebody that I love that might have cancer. So it's not worrisome to me because there's a mantra. Several people that have stuck with it, have done the mantra, have had cancer, and then not had cancer. I'm not the one that can give that proof. It's the people that do the mantras and whatever. But I'm sure that person is scared stiff if they do have cancer. All they need to do is do a mantra. It is the string theory, the branches of the mind are the ones that if something in particular happens, they go into a strange configuration and grab on to branches that are in organs that are associated with the problem that you had. Well, who came up with that list of organs? Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, 5,000 years old, 2,000 years old? I didn't. So if it's cancer, it's two things that your mind is doing: lots of anger and a feeling of impotence. So then your mantra has to do with, even though I hate, there's nothing I can do, I love and accept myself. And you just keep doing it. I had a friend who actually is a very well-known talent in Spanish TV, who worked with me. She was going in for surgery on her lungs. She had cancer, 2 different hospitals in Miami. They did 2 different biopsies. She had cancer. She went in. I gave her the cancer mantra. And she called me after surgery. She said that I was the first person she had called after surgery. The lungs is really hard. It's very tiring. There's something about that surgery. She said that the doctor in the surgery had opened her up and said, wait a second, this is not cancer. Let me see those biopsies. This is what she told me. This is what she said. The doctor said. She has no reason to lie to me. Believe me, I would actually feel that she would have preferred that I not have been right, which is the case for a lot of people. It's too simple. Can't be that simple. And the doctor said, let me see the biopsies. They both said cancer. And he said, well, this is a sick lung. I have to take a piece out, but this is not cancer. So she was able to take care of it with a mantra. Nobody made any money anyplace. She only did it because she was desperate. And I had helped her with a couple of other things, and she saw it was effective. Why am I hesitating? Because I'd like to tell you another piece of that story, and I'm going to tell it. She was a wonderful woman. She said that the first thing she was going to do after surgery was to go to India. And I asked her why she was going to go to India, because she wanted to be more spiritual. Which brings me to me, what I know, and what I want to share. And when I first did some marketing in terms of what it is that I could do when I was setting up my office, I worked with somebody who's a genius, and she came up with a marketing statement of that I was integrating Eastern wisdom and Western pragmatism. Why am I saying this now? Because this person was going to go to India, because she did a mantra that was the only explanation, according to her, to why she would have not had cancer after 2 biopsies from 2 prominent hospitals in Miami. And she's no dummy. She doesn't need to go to India. There comes the Western pragmatism. And that's what we need to put together now. And I'm going to put together now for this country and anybody else who's willing, and all the other 20 countries, Latin Americans, people who follow me in the Mantrista movement. We need to get this ancient wisdom with the Western pragmatism, which I bring to the table because I was raised by military. I'm laughing about it, was not laughable. And we need to apply it to the existing issues today. And the major one is going to be the collapse of economies because of the chaotic shift between 2 different cycles. So point-specific the mantras have been around forever. They're incredibly effective. Mantras liberate the mind creates reality. String theory, that structure creates reality. That's why it explains everything and takes care of everything, because it creates reality. And you can recreate reality when you recreate or change the configurations of the branches of the tree, which are the strings, which I called mind strings. So we have to go at the issue of prosperity with techniques that are an integration of ancient wisdom and modern military pragmatism, which in my case means it's got to be efficient and effective, and it cannot cost a ton of money. Actually, in my case, it couldn't cost anything at all. I couldn't suggest something that was going to cost money. I just had to tell them how to fix it. When you get to the causal level, it doesn't really have anything to do with money. It has to do with mind. Mind is everything. And then getting on to the issue of medical, which I love. But like people tell me, no, because I have cancer. Oh, no. Well, don't you work with that? Yeah, but I work at when it's still at the level, just the mind. Once it hits the physical body, that becomes a little bit more complicated. But in terms of medicine, I think I'm going to have a fit. The people that are in medicine call themselves Christian and Catholic, and they don't take care of spirits. What's going on here? This is mental illness. This is a level of mental illness For all of those people who think that I'm mentally ill, no, 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 no. You're mentally ill if you can call yourself a Christian. And when somebody talks about there being a spirit someplace, you go, you're working with the devil. So we have Jesus Christ cast out spirits before he did anything else for a reason. That's what shamans do. And if we would allow it, we would know that about Chinese medicine and acupuncture. Oh, no, 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 but we're too delicate in this part of the world. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Don't you be giving me that Chinese medicine thing. The spirit thing. No. Well, you're not getting the spirit thing in Chinese medicine in this country. Chinese acupuncture has 33 ghost points, and practically no acupuncturist knows that, because talking about ghosts is talking about spirits, and that is very, I mean, you're obviously working with the devil. I am calling for a much more efficient medicine. I am calling for investigations and research into causal having to do with disease, which will be totally in keeping with what Jesus Christ lived and taught us by example, and is in shamanism, the original medicine of the planet, Ayurveda, and Chinese medicine. You never hear them talk about that because it makes you nervous. We already know that regular white people and Americans cannot deal with that. So we don't talk about it. But if you're going to get efficient, can you imagine if what I am saying is true? Can you imagine the decrease in cost for illnesses? If you went to a doctor, they understood the fundamental structure of the universe. They understood that you have a configuration of strings, the branches of the tree, that have given you this disease, plus the quality of your thought and your emotions, which is what caused the strings to reconfigure. And they work from there. Can you imagine how inexpensive, how much money would be saved? But it's not just how much money would be saved. How much more, how much more efficient can you get than to work at cost? And because we have new people in the government, in the intelligence community, that are either were raised Hindu or still are Hindu, it means that there's an opening there. And I think that we are so understanding that we have not had we have been arrogant, and that we haven't really had the answers, and that we can widen the lens and look a little bit further outside of where we have been operating. So I am going to put together, which I worked with companies in the 90s, stress management having to do with mantras. And of course, they include the word, please God, help us with our intention. So that should be fine. We won't talk about spirits, but we really need to understand that this is a different world. And within the paradigm that we have today, we're not going to get the answers that we need to stay operational. And I had talked previously about bringing in, I was going to say my favorite monk, no, my most revered Rinpoche, Tantric Rinpoche, who was the one who took the black magic off of Venezuela years ago, about bringing him in. I am actually not in a position to bring him in. It's not a question of bank accounts. It's a question of they would need visas. And I can't go to the corner. Much less am I in a position to start asking for visas for people. But certainly, it would be very grounding to have this particular Rinpoche here as a stabilizing force. Okay, let's go with I think that maybe from here forward, if things get dark, I think I'm going to have to figure out some way to get this information to Trump that's not in a public broadcast. But look how interesting. Oh, I need to find it. I found it. Several years ago, I was someplace with some very nice people, and they were talking about the fact that their company was going to be closed because they were going to make a trip to Moldova. Moldova is a country in Europe. And I thought, a camping trip? It wasn't a camping trip. It was a like a Peace Corps thing, but it wasn't. He didn't say the name of the organization. I think it was very interesting. Cubans, like Venezuelans, are all over the world. Cubans, yeah, we don't do that much. We like to be close to home. We don't. So Cubans in Moldova, mm, there was something about it that just was like, this doesn't feel right. So, in the yes, I am blind. In the looking for what money is being spent on in the United States, they put out a list, Trump did, of US taxpayer dollars were going to be spent on the following items, all of which have been canceled. Now, Moldova is an extremely small country. I don't know if I can get somebody to look up Moldova, what the population of Moldova is. If somebody can look it up and put it there, it might be interesting. So when that person said that there were a group of Cubans that were going to Moldova, now mind you, I am so broken in terms of my heart that I cannot watch movies in which anybody gets hurt. A kid, a soldier, a broken heart in a romance thing, I cannot watch it. It kills me. So I end up watching stuff that I would have been embarrassed to admit that I watched if I had watched it before. But it's the only thing I can tolerate. So I have seen entirely too many boring and not so great Hallmark movies. I'm sorry, but they're so bland that I don't get heartbroken. It doesn't matter what happens in it, it's okay. So Moldova reminds me of these Hallmark movies. This is going to be good. I mean, you may think that I'm just going on and on for nothing. So how many people, did somebody look it up? No, nobody has looked it up. What is the population of Moldova? Okay. So here are the things: $10 million for Mozambique voluntary medical whatever, 9.7 million for UC Berkeley, 2.3 strengthening independent voices in Colombia, 32 million Prague, Civil Society Center. The biggest expense is 29 million strengthen political landscape in Bangladesh, 20 million fiscal federalism Nepal, 1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia, 47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Listen, 486 million. They have 2 million people, 2.5 million people. 486 million to the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, including 22 million for inclusive and participatory political process in Moldova. $486 million, Moldova. Now, I think, Trump, Elon, if you start to pull that particular string, 486 million for Moldova, you're going to run into the Cuban mercenaries, the Cuban mafia that are my enemy and the enemy of this country, not just my enemy. 486 million for the political process in Moldova, and they have 2.5 million people, 2.9 million. Follow that thread. That's not pull that string off. Follow that thread. 486 million. What are Cubans doing there? You're going to find something very interesting. I laughed myself silly when I saw that. I went, God, my intuition's really good. So we're going to go to the map. My note here says lubricate changing cycles. The planet is changing cycles. The planet. It's not political. It's not democratic. It has nothing to do with communism. God, I wish you would let go of that word communism and socialism and just talk facts, whatever. Lubricating the process, the cycle, the change of cycle. Stress management, but effective stress management. So here's the map of the United States. Wonderful Merkaba, that means protection from the Galactic Federation. The heart looks great. The pyramids in the Gulf of Mexico continue to be strong. The word Mexico is key. And then kill, having to do with Florida, particularly Mar-a-Lago, where Trump lives. There is a focus and a thrust and a push towards taking Trump down, killing him. I know you're not supposed to say that on YouTube, but what the hell? Only 6 people see my chats anyway. I'll call all 6 personally and tell them that I didn't mean to use that word. Here's the trick. Florida no longer has the green around it. What happened this week with Elon and Trump? Elon told Trump they're trying to destroy a relationship. And absolutely. But there's an energy that is not there anymore. It's not green. Remember all the other times it's been green? It's gone. Now, that can come back in seconds flat. But here's the trick. I said several weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago when I started to sketch the green there, that this part of the United States is helpful friends in Feng Shui, in the Bagua, that's 3,000 years old. Okay? So the relationship between Elon and Musk created a strength and a joy in that part of the United States. Because this part of the United States, even if Trump and Elon weren't there, this part of the United States has to do with helpful friends. It channels the energy of the left leg. Okay. And I said, this is great. And then there was that first confrontation with the president of Mexico. And then and I said, you know what? It wasn't such a big confrontation. As a matter of fact, they understood each other very well. I think they're going to be really close friends. And that the next day, it was in the news. Kiss and makeup, everything fine. It was great. And the smiles, it was really solid. It was good. And here are the words, Mexico is key. The president of Mexico is pissed about the Gulf of Mexico, but I'm not happy with it either. I mean, I don't get it. I don't know why it's necessary. How about if we try not to irritate everybody at one time? But whatever, there must have been a good reason for that. The pyramids do not seem to be affected. They couldn't care less what the name is. They're coming up stronger, and they're even stronger. But you don't have the helpful friends anymore, which means that the United States is not going to have their friends, other countries, be such helpful friends. And there's going to be a deterioration here. So my suggestion would be a mantra to purify the energies of helpful friends between Elon and Trump, because that's what they're going after. But when they go after that, they're really going after the country, because it was that relationship that created the wonderful energy in Florida. Now, this push, what this says kill, kill. I could have gone on. There's a concerted effort, and it has to do with Mar-a-Lago. There's a concerted effort to get something god awful to happen there. So, so here's the mantra. Please God help us with our intention to create a miraculously, to create a miraculous relationship between Elon and Trump. If somebody could write that down, I'd appreciate it. Please God help us with our intention to create a miraculous relationship between Elon and Trump. When we are paired off and the spirit world sees that we're very well paired off and that pairing can really anchor important things, such as with Trump and Elon, that's a battle cry for the spirit world. They need to take down that relationship, whether it's male, female, or a gay relationship. In this case, it's beyond a business relationship. It's a friendship, common goals, moving together forward with the same goals. So that mantra, for those of you that can remember it, and I guess we could do it right now. That's the mantra that we're going to do. Please God help us with our intention to create a miraculous uh, friendship, to create and protect a miraculous friendship between Elon and, let me write it down. I know, but except I changed it. And have no doubt but that there are people doing black magic to destroy the relationship between them. Okay, so the mantra is, please God help us with our intention to create a miraculously protected relationship between Trump and Elon, remembering that when that happens again, all of us that are part of the United States will benefit in that the country will support us having helpful friends. I believe that also covers trips. The mantra is repeated in silence. You expel the breath through your mouth. For those of you that are not aware of it, I have what's called a superpower that I've had since I was a child. I didn't say it, the military did. The scientists, it's called the power of induction. When you're in my presence, whether it's here in the chat or on the phone or in person, your psychic abilities augment. So the more that you are listening to me, following me, the more your psychic abilities augment. Why am I saying that right now? Because I would like for you, and for a lot of you, maybe this will be the first time, I would like for you to be open to seeing images, to seeing colors, to seeing things as you do this mantra. And for those that are listening to this as a podcast, again, the mantra is, please God, help us with our intention to create a miraculously protected relationship between Trump and Elon. When we do this, we're investing in our own friendships. And you all know that whereas 20 years ago, weekend came and we'd say, okay, who are we getting together with? Where are we going? Hey, let's have some friends over. That doesn't happen anymore. Most people will tell you they don't have any friends. What you don't know, and I haven't mentioned here previously, is that we have implants at the top of our left leg, which is that left part of Florida. If you put the map on top of you, it would be the Florida and part of Georgia. There was an implant there. Several times we have implants placed at the top of the left leg so that the energy that comes from the foot and travels up the leg cannot continue to travel. In other words, we got truncated. So the main reason we don't have friends anymore, and so many people say that, is because of black magic, but galactic black magic. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Let me show you. Go ahead and judge yourself, self-analysis from 1 to 10. How do you feel? 1, you want to slit your wrist. 10, you feel great. Take a quick look at the gold and white dress. Yeah, it looks a little bit darkish. And let's do 7 minutes of this mantra. So this is the legs, but it's emotions. I'm trying to figure out which mantra. Go with this one. Just don't try to make anything happen, but allow yourself to get images and remember them and maybe share them afterwards because they probably have to do with this mantra. Okay. Where are you at? Between 1 and 10? Here's the dress. Yeah, it's lighter. It's much, much lighter. Where are you at? What I saw was that there is a legitimate level of exhaustion in both Trump and Elon. And you know that when we get exhausted, we get irritated. So there are some irritations there, but the root cause of the irritations are exhaustion. And then, of course, that door opens, the spirits come in and they start hammering at the people. In this case, would be Elon and Trump. The exhaustion issue needs to be taken care of because when we are tired, we lose our creativity and we're not ready for anything new. We just want it to be business as usual. That's one of the issues with the United States. We have a population of employees that are not committed. They're too tired and they're not committed to the product of the company. They should be aligning with their mission. They don't even know what that's all about. One very nice mantra can help with that, but they don't have access to that. And so you have people operating robotically. This country was going to go down anyway. There needed to be big changes because simply the statistics on the disengagement of the people who work in this country for the companies was so high, like in the 80s, 80 some percent, that there's no way that we could continue with our creativity, innovations, and leading the world in terms of prosperity. Zero way we could have done it. There had to be a shakeup. And that shakeup needs to include addressing the stress that we are in because we're in a changing world. Uh, it's been predicted for 5,000 years that this was going to happen. Part of a cycle that's 20 some thousand years in the making. In other words, this is stuff that's very real and very influential in how we feel. And how we feel is the difference between us and a wall. It's what we feel. It's our emotions that make us humans and make us to be as great as we can be. And we can be really great. We just don't know enough about it ourselves. So getting back to emotions, remember I said to you, I think it was last week, that the press secretary, Caroline, was a really attractive woman. Within 1 week, her face was changing shape and she was much more swollen here. And this part of us has to do with resentments. And I think she cut short one of her press conferences this morning because she got really angry at somebody who was really stupid. And there we go with the exhaustion. If she wasn't so exhausted, she would be handling this differently. But the exhaustion is a very real thing. By the way, the mantra for exhaustion really works. Even though I'm exhausted, I love and accept myself. And you keep doing it. And after a few minutes, all of a sudden, you're not so tired. So it works. So she's already not the same person. It's going to be now from here forward, unless she does some stress management, which I am volunteering to do with her. It's very simple. Um, everybody's going to know how stupid she thinks people are, and everybody is going to end up not liking her, and she's not going to get any breaks. She's going to end up being just an A1 bitch because she doesn't have the tools for processing negative emotions. What we are taught is to be socially correct and not express those emotions. Just let it go. But you don't let it go. It stays inside your aura. That's why I say our auras look like garbage bags and all her stuff is there. She's already up to here with people being stupid, but it doesn't look good. And you know one of the reasons why it doesn't look good? Because Trump is really bright. So he has somebody representing him that is letting us all know how she feels, and I understand that because I feel that a lot. That she thinks everybody's stupid. It doesn't. It's not working. It's not a question of removing her. No, she's really good. She needs stress management. Her looks are going to change. You know that they had a picture. I think it was Obama years ago. What he looked like when he started his presidency, and what he looked like afterwards. At the end, totally different. And that is the process of aging, by the way. In my opinion, the process of aging is a process of an accumulation of traumas and reactions to things. We carry them with us because we have not been taught the deepest levels of detoxing and of purification, which is what the mantras and the things that I teach do. They work very deep, so you can end up like fresh as a daisy. Um, so anyway, I wanted to get back in terms of her because I think it was Friday that I said that, or on Thursday, and already today she was in a rage again, and it said it in the news that she was in a rage, and she cut short a conference. So addressing the stress management of the emotions. Remember, we're at maximum clash now. It's not just Republican Democrat, it's a new way of doing business, and then the resentment of what was done to Trump and all of his people, the stuff that was done to people like me. That resentment is there, so when the clash, it's big. The name of the heart center is means in Hinduism, I believe it's Hinduism, it means no sound. No sound, because there is no clashing. When you're centered in your heart, you kind of know, okay, I get it. And so there's no fight because you kind of know, oh yeah, okay, I got it, I got it. Rather than look what they're doing to me, da, 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 da. So this whole stress management thing with a little bit wider lens, and that can be worked on. I'm sure there can be people that can give us a language that would be acceptable to the people that still have both feet in the old paradigm. But again, we have two people in intelligence that were raised Hindu and may still be Hindu. Um, so that's very much a widening of the lens. So I think that's it. So look up Moldova and 486 million. The name of the company that got 486 million, the company name is Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening. As a person who's been an insider in the dark side of politics, it's real obvious what that is. It's a front. Now, who's inside that? I'm telling you, no sound is not the same as silence. At least I don't think it is. Silence, you're holding back something. Anyway, I can't get into that now because I honestly don't know, Teresa. But Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening. I think you're going to find Cubans involved there. Remember that I'm Cuban. I'm trying to defend the Cuban reputation. There is a group of Cubans that were trained to be mercenaries for this country at every level. and they have had the deepest entry into politics in Washington. They are totally all over and foundational to the mind control programs. Okay? Together with incredible level of black magic. The stuff that they have done behind the scenes all the time when they are abusing and blackmailing and sexually assaulting people to keep them under control, that needs to be ferreted out and gotten rid of. If you follow that string, I think you're going to find something very interesting. You may run into Adam Schiff again. Wouldn't that be interesting? There was one more thing I wanted to say, but we're at 53 minutes, which is long. So it will have to wait until tomorrow. So wish us all luck. They're supposed to be clearing Patel tomorrow, the head of the FBI. And then all hell is going to break loose. And I have to assume there was somebody called Luna, who's a representative or a senator. I don't know what she is. She's from Florida, I believe. And they put her in charge of the declassifying. I would have to assume that she and her group from the Congress are going to look into these papers. But the chances of the public not getting completely violent if the Congress stands between us and the release of those documents, the chance of people not going crazy is going to be zilch and nil. There is no reason why Congress should be handling anything having to do with conspiracy. I was not pleased when Luna said 2 days prior to the announcement, she had such a smile on her face. She looked like she had won an award. She said, we have something you're just so fascinating for all of you. She was so happy with herself. You know what? I don't think that's the right attitude for this level of destruction that we're going to suffer under because of those documents. For her, it was a power coup. And again, I have nothing against her. She's cute as a button. I have nothing against her. But maybe it's not quite the correct energy. Certainly for people like me. Oh, I have a surprise for you. I have a surprise for you, lady. You don't seem to have the maturity to be handling that level of documents. And I don't want any Congress between me and that information. Too many games have been played with it, okay? Enough of jerking around. If she and whoever the other guy was, the Senator Schumer, I think it was, want to go sit in that corner and unravel it, I'm sure she's going to get bored. I'm sure she's not going to plow through that. Elon will. She's not going to plow through that. I don't know why that bothered me so much because I've always liked that woman. But the way 2 days before, the way she said it with that smile, so what she got up her sleeve? Why do we have to wait 2 days? You know, we are going to have a committee on the conspiracies. I'm going to end on that note. This is not a game. Oh, the other thing I was going to say, anybody who's a mind control victim that's listening to this, I would suggest that you write down who you think your control is, because sometimes you don't know who your control is, who your handler is, and all sorts of information. And then I think you need to get that into a document and you need to give it out to a zillion people. Today is the 17th. Tomorrow, the new FBI guy will be in. And I have no idea what all the handlers are going to be doing to all their little robots. Okay? So that they don't go down. But I think they need to know that those robots have their information, stories and everything, and Xerox it and get it out to as many people as possible. So that those handlers think twice before they do what I saw they were doing to that poor man, which was raping him continuously, some political figure whose name I am never going to say, because he wasn't quite under control enough. So protect yourselves. Be proactive. Give it out to people. And remember that emails are tracked so easily. So I would do some Xerox copies. I would hand it to people. I would put it in safety deposit boxes. I put it all over the place. And if you happen to put a piece of information in there that is not 100% accurate, you can correct it later. Okay? Bye. Thank you.